Bill, and today I'll be going over some thinking skill questions for you guys. So the first question is, if a person studies 4 hours a day for the selective, he will score in the top 10%. Now that means that studying 4 hours a day is a sufficient condition for getting into the top 10%. Every student in James Roos scores in the top 10%. So therefore, or thus, Sarah, who is studying at James Roos, must have studied at least 4 hours a day. Now just think about this. Do you think that this statement is flawed, or do you think that it's correct? Well, this statement is flawed. So, because there is a sufficient condition, but it's not a necessary condition. The sufficient condition means that if you do that, it can lead to this result. But there are other things that can also lead to this result. So, Sarah, studying at James Roos, could have gotten to the top 10% by studying less than 3 hours a day, because she's like a genius or something. So if we look through the answers here, we see that number C says what I have just said, that the argument fails to consider that studying less than 4 hours a day may be sufficient for some people to score in the top 10%. Okay. So make sure to consider things about sufficient and necessary conditions when you're looking at. Now, I'm going to move on to the next question. Telstra owns all the phone networks. Foxtel can be transmitted via the wires that are already in place and owned by Telstra. Foxtel argues that if Telstra was able to offer cable service, it would have an unfair advantage, because their cable transmissions could be cheaper as they make more money and own the lines, so they do not need to pay any extra money. Which of the following, if true, would ease the Foxtel's fear of unfair competition? So immediately in this question, we know that it says ease the fear, which means that we're looking for things that support, that make it so that Telstra would not be able to make cable transmissions. Let's read through all of the answers. So let's look at question A. In order to use existing telephone wire, Telstra would need to modernize their operations, a process so expensive it would virtually wipe out all profit from their monopoly for the foreseeable future. So if it wipes out all profit for the foreseeable future, that means it wouldn't really be a good idea for Telstra to go ahead and do the cable transmissions. But, so already I'm thinking that A is the correct answer. But we still have to look at everything, because in thinking skills it's usually the truest or the best answer that is going to be the correct answer. So let's look at B. If Telstra were to offer cable service within a particular area, it would have a monopoly within that area. So a monopoly would mean that it's only Telstra that is providing everything. And that wouldn't really be good to Foxtel. So it wouldn't ease Foxtel's fear. So it can't be B. So I'm just going to put this with a red text color. But if you're doing this in an actual test, you probably just cross it out or something. For question C, the cost of television service, whether provided by cable or telephone companies, scales. So that is the total cost of transmission rises only a little bit as more homes are added to the network. So that doesn't really help one person over the other. That's just a fact, and that will help both of them. So that could ease the fear, but not as much as A, in my opinion. So I won't cross this out, but I'll just leave it here. Foxtel has more channels already available through satellite dishes, but the initial cost of the dish is extremely high. So this question is telling us that Foxtel has alternative ways to get more channels, but the cost of the dish is extremely high, which means that it really wouldn't be viable right now. So I'm going to have to cross out D as well. And E. Foxtel will never be able to compete with Netflix, especially as more homes have the internet than ever did before. So this question mentions Netflix, but nowhere in the statement here does it ever mention Netflix? So this is kind of irrelevant to the actual topic. So I'm also going to cross this out. So now we have answers A and answer C. So if we look at it again, we have question A that helps Foxtel and question C that helps both of them. So I'm going to have to go with the answer A. Okay. So this question was basically asking you to use your brain. You have to read all of these questions and you have to comprehend what they're saying in here and relate them back or link them back to the question in the beginning. So yeah. If you have any more questions, leave them down in the comments and I'll try my best to get to them in a future video. Thank you.